I just came across this study that is now telling me that eggs are bad for us, or that eating more eggs might lead to poorer health. Is that really true? I'm going to break this down right now and share some food for thought with you. Hello, I'm Lynn Vitale, and I woke up this morning and I made my black coffee because I was trying to stay in intermittent fasting. And then somewhere around 11, I was working on my computer and I was thinking about breakfast. And I come across in my email feed that eggs are bad for me again. Today, eggs might be bad for me. Oh my goodness, I said, what is this about? So I start looking into it, and apparently, eggs can be associated with a higher rate of mortality related to cardiovascular disease. Again, they were good, then they were bad, and then they were good again, and now they might be bad again. So what does this make me want to do? It makes me want to get up and make eggs because I'm kind of a rebel. So I got up and I made eggs. I made some farm fresh eggs, some really nice yellow yolked eggs from cage-free organic hens, and I made a bunch of kale with it because that's really how I like my eggs. And then I sat down and I looked at this again. Let's take a look at this. Why are eggs now bad for us again? Well, we all know that eggs are associated with a high level of cholesterol. You can only get dietary cholesterol from eating animals that make cholesterol the way that humans make cholesterol. But here's what most people don't realize. We all need cholesterol. It is a lipoprotein that carries fats in our bloodstream to where they need to go. And they do all kinds of important things with that, including make your cell membranes functional and as precursors for things like your reproductive hormones, not to mention helping your brain function better. The problem and the demonization of cholesterol comes with cardiovascular risks and the fact that a lot of people who have cardiovascular incidents, it's related to various kinds of blockages in our blood vessels. And that those blockages, when they've pulled them out in autopsies, they've realized that they're full of these fatty acids that are in these lipoproteins and what we call cholesterol. And so they said, oh my goodness, if we can just get all this cholesterol out of people's bloodstreams, then they won't make these blockages and then they won't die of cardiovascular incidents, that won't be the problem. But that's just the wrong thinking, because all these pharmaceutical medications now are geared toward removing cholesterol from the bloodstream that we really desperately need and that we've always eaten in animals, that we've always eaten as humans and make, even if you don't eat it. There are vegans who have high blood cholesterol. It really depends on how your liver functions. You don't not have cholesterol in your bloodstream because you don't eat it. That doesn't make sense at all. So all these medications are geared toward removing cholesterol from your bloodstream, which has a lot of other side effects, as you may well know, instead of focusing on why the fat was sticking to the lining of the blood vessel in the first place. It sticks to the lining of the blood vessel like a Band-Aid to fix something that is damaged. Why is your blood vessel damaged? Well, it probably goes back to inflammatory processes in your body that started a long time ago. The lining of the blood vessel is injured in some way, and your immune system goes to try to repair that, and it grabs things from the bloodstream that are flowing by and starts packing that wound and shoring it up. Meanwhile, your body tries to start repairing the lining beneath that Band-Aid. But that is sticky, and in its stickiness, it can keep attracting more solids in the bloodstream. Many of these plaques have not only fats in them that we call cholesterol, but also like minerals like calcium, sometimes even heavy metals. And so everything's been called the problem. Really, the problem is whatever makes your lining of your blood vessels rough or stiff or damaged in the first place. What initiated that response of your immune system where it said, I need to go fix something, and it used whatever was available to pack it, like packing a hole in a house with mud or something like that. So let's look at this study. It was a huge study. There were, I don't know, 30-some thousand people. It took place from 1985 through 2016, and it was an investigation. It was not a research study where they gave one group of people fake eggs and the other group of people real eggs for a period of time and studied their health. Obviously, that would be funny, but this is looking at people over a long period of time by dietary recall on what kinds of foods they ate. And they either added up their total dietary cholesterol based on what they reported they eat, or how many eggs they eat in a week based, again, on what they reported. But they also included eggs in things like cookies and cake mixes and egg beaters and, funny egg mixtures that aren't even really eggs at all. And then they looked at this for this very long period, 85 to 2016. And in the end, they came up with the conclusion that higher consumption of dietary cholesterol or eggs significantly is associated with a higher risk of incidence of cardiovascular disease and death by cardiovascular disease. So they're stating that there is an association. There's so many things wrong with that, and it's all over the news. I guarantee you it's on your television news, it's in your internet news, it's in your news feeds, it's probably on Instagram and Twitter, it's all over my integrative health news feeds that I receive. But integrative practitioners were all jumping out and immediately saying, wait a second, did they look at anything else at all? We've demonized red meat, we've demonized eggs for the longest time. All this stuff in the mainstream research and media has demonized these foods that humans have eaten forever. And we're not looking at the quality of those foods or what accompanies them. So when we talk about eggs, well, just eggs, or eggs that are oxidized and mixed into cake mixes? Or are we talking about eggs from hens that are actually out eating insects and seeds and getting sunshine and exercise? Or are we talking about eggs from hens that are crowded into factory farms and are diseased and are fed genetically modified corn and soy all the time? That might make a difference. That might lead to some kind of inflammatory process in our bodies that might be associated with higher risks of cardiovascular disease and overall death rates, wouldn't it? And the same would be true for red meats, right? And when red meat has been thrown down the toilet again as being bad for you, never in any of those studies did they ask the people where they got their meats from, if they considered anything about the health of that animal. Doesn't it make sense that if the animal is not healthy and we eat that animal, that we might get sick? I mean, if you were a hunter and you went hunting and you got a deer and once you looked at it, it was covered in sores and spots and it was very unhealthy, would you eat it? Well, I certainly wouldn't eat it. And I think that everybody who's ever hunted would have the wisdom to say, this animal's not healthy, I should not eat it. But because we buy our foods in packages at the store, we never have the chance to say, this animal might have been unhealthy. Maybe I shouldn't eat it or drink the milk from it or eat the eggs from it. So knowing where our food comes from makes a huge difference. And if you don't know where your food comes from, certifications help you to know that somebody else was auditing for that. So, humane certified or certified organic, or, there's farm certifications, there's non-GMO certifications that tell you at least that they weren't eating genetically modified feed that might make them sick, for example. So we have to look for third parties to audit on these things when we can't have a relationship with farms and ranches and know where our foods are coming from. One other point besides the fact that the quality of the eggs, or the same studies on red meat, were never taken into consideration. They never looked at everything else that was eaten alongside. If you take people who are eating a plate full of vegetables with eggs on top of it, or red meat on top of it, or whatever their protein of choice is, what is their long-term health compared to somebody who is putting eggs on top of, fried chicken on top of a biscuit and never eats a vegetable? I mean, I think common sense would state that the health outcomes would be different in most cases. There's always anomalies, but in most cases we could see that that would be different. And so these studies never take that kind of a thing into consideration at all. So really important takeaways here. Number one, you need cholesterol. It is really important. It's so important that your liver makes it, point number two, no matter what you eat. Point number three, if your liver is damaged or inflamed, it doesn't easily control the amount or the quality or the size or the function of the cholesterol or lipoprotein molecules that are in your bloodstream. So really what we want to look to in cholesterol profile balancing is the health of the liver. Point number three, what else are these people eating or not eating? What else are they getting in their diet or not getting in their diet that may have contributed to their cardiovascular disease? What were their other lifestyle habits that might have also contributed to their higher rate of cardiovascular disease and death due to cardiovascular disease? So those are 5 main things to look at. And when we're overall trying to consider, should I eat eggs? Should I eat red meat? Should I become a vegan? Should I be vegetarian? You know, we all as humans need the same things in our physiology to make us function optimally. How we go about getting that, we have choices, especially today. You can choose to be a vegan because you have access to foods and nutrients and the freedom to choose them and put them together in a way that you can be balanced. You also have the freedom today to choose to be an omnivore, but buy your animal products very selectively and with a very elevated conscience about how that animal was raised and what they ate and how they were treated. This is all possible for us to do. But when it comes down to it, what we have to remember, whether we choose to eat a lot of meats and animal products or none, plants are still the center of our diet. And if we get plenty of fiber from plants, plenty of antioxidants, plenty of minerals, plenty of vitamins from our plants, what we put on top of those plants doesn't make nearly as much of a difference if it is sourced healthfully. So I just don't want you to feel bad about what you're eating as long as you're eating real food, whole food, and it's coming from as clean a source as possible. Just swipe through this on your news feed and just ignore it. And while you're at it, ignore the sidebar that says that, you know, the low-carb diet is tied to a heart rhythm disorder. Don't let that scare you either. They probably weren't eating their vegetables. I could keep going just based on what's on my sidebar here today. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to my channel. This is a little rant that I went on. I might go on these from time to time when something comes into my newsfeed that just really aggravates me and I really need to tell you what the truth is. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already so that you never miss new content. Like this video if you think it was funny or if it helped you in some way. Please pass it on. Feel free to grab my videos, embed them, send them wherever you need to. We have a lot of information to share and get out there. And until I see you again, live long, live strong, and make a difference.